How's it going, everyone? It's me, Lone, and today I just wanted to have a more chilled out discussion with you about Fallout 76 and in terms of whether lore breaking and lore consistency actually matters. As I've been uploading my lore breaking videos, which have been doing really well, so thank you so much for that, a lot of people have commented and suggested that, well, lore consistency and lore breaking doesn't actually matter when it comes to Fallout 76. And in these comments it would be said that because Fallout 76 is just a spin-off and is an online multiplayer game, that it doesn't really matter if Bethesda isn't super consistent with the lore in that game. And I wanted to address those comments because I think it makes for a really interesting discussion in terms of how much importance we actually attach to the past lore and history and story of the Fallout franchise. And certainly, I agree in a sense, it does matter in terms of the game that's being talked about. And so to bring up an example, I want to mention Fallout Shelter. That's a game that I've been playing recently a lot, and it's also a game that I invested heavily into in the lead up to Fallout 4. And it got me thinking, well, if a game like Fallout Shelter was super inconsistent with the lore of Fallout, would we care? I think if we did go to the internet and actually ask Fallout fans what they thought about that, I honestly do believe that most people would say, well, who cares? It's just a mobile Fallout game. I don't care if that game in particular is not super consistent with the lore of Fallout. So long as it's not crazy out there and still tries to stay true relatively to what Fallout is all about. I.e., you're in a vault, it's post-apocalyptic, there's an overseer, etc. But when it comes to Fallout 76, I think the argument is slightly different. Yes, it's an online game. Yes, it's a multiplayer game. But I still do view Fallout 76 as being part of the main Fallout franchise. Call it a spin-off, call it whatever you want. Just because it's a multiplayer game doesn't mean it's not part of the continuity of the Fallout franchise. By all accounts, Bethesda is treating this as a fully fledged Fallout game. It's just different to Fallout 4 and 3 in New Vegas. But it's still a full price game coming to most major consoles and platforms. And when you listen to Todd Howard and the team talk about West Virginia and how rich that setting is in terms of its lore and its background and its creatures, etc., I personally get the sense that this matters in terms of the lore of Fallout. When I view Fallout 76 and the West Virginia that's attempted to be portrayed here, I don't just view this as a fake West Virginia that can be forgotten about once we're all done with Fallout 76. It's been explicitly stated that yes, this West Virginia is part of the Fallout US, and to that extent it's set in a certain time period, 25 years after the Great War, and it's drawing upon all of this history and lore from Fallout games of past. Again, the fact that there's a vault, the fact that there was a Great War, the fact that nuclear radiation still plagues the wasteland, and that's why we have all these crazed out mutant creatures. And it brings back power armor like the T-51 and the T-60, and a lot of story and plot elements that already existed in the Fallout franchise up until this point. For instance, the fact that Vault 76 is a control vault, so it has no experimentation. That's a fundamental feature of the story and history and the lore of Fallout. We can't forget about Project Safehouse and all of the control vaults, the 17 of them I think there are. We can't forget about that, and Fallout 76 is attempting to insert Vault 76 and the game into that history. So even though it's a multiplayer online game, the way the game is being built and the way the story is attempted to be kind of incorporated into the basis and foundation of Fallout's history, we can't just disregard this as something that's not canon. I don't think we can do that, and therefore I don't think we can just say that, well, if something is not consistent with the lore, then it doesn't matter. I think it absolutely does matter. Now mind you, am I suggesting that we should be super fickle with the lore of Fallout and lose our crap every time there is a minor inconsistency? Of course not. I'm certainly not saying that. And you've seen in my past lore videos, I've tried to tie together in some sort of coherent way why bottle caps are back, why super mutants are included in West Virginia, to try and see if there is some sort of consistency with the past lore of Fallout. And at least with those two topics, we've managed to find a theory or two that has allowed the return of bottle caps and super mutants to still kind of make sense in the lore of Fallout. But if it's something so completely minor that doesn't really affect the kind of broader spectrum that is Fallout, I'm personally not going to mind. But if we do conclude that lore consistency doesn't matter in Fallout 76, we're going to start to edge towards that stage where, well, we can make this inconsistency and that inconsistency, and then bigger and bigger things are inconsistent, and then it starts to make no sense. So let me give you an example, right? Vault 76, as we know, in the terminal in Fallout 3 Citadel, it was mentioned that the vault is a DC area vault. Now, I've said in the past that this is a super broad concept, and if the vault was still in West Virginia, it it probably wouldn't matter. This is one of those really minor lore things that if Bethesda retcons it, I'm not honestly going to mind. But if instead, in that Citadel terminal, it somehow said that Vault 76 was actually set in San Francisco, but then we're being told in Fallout 76 it's actually in West Virginia, then I think that actually matters. I think that's an inconsistency which should be addressed. And look, retcons happen in media all of the time, in stories all of the time. Look at any book series, look at any game. Certain things are done in later games because new teams come on, new writers come on. Not everyone is fully across every single little bit of detail and fact in the past history of the games. So of course in the future mistakes can be made, inconsistencies can be made, and lore retcons might have to be made to explain things. So if very small mistakes are made here and there, I mean, I'm personally not going to care about it. But as another example, if Fallout 76 tried to tell me that the Great War was in the year 2020, then that's something I'm going to raise my eyebrow to as well. So this is why I've been doing the lore breaking videos, to see how consistent Fallout 76 is in terms of the past Fallout games. And just to see whether, if there are any perceived inconsistencies, it can still be somewhat explained in the lore of Fallout. And that's why I want to continue to do these videos. I want to have a look at the XO1 power armor to see whether it's consistent to have that in Fallout 76. I want to have a look at why there would be death claws in West Virginia. Is that consistent with the lore of Fallout? I don't know, I need to look into it. But this stuff is very interesting to me, and I like to see how relatively true newer games stay to the past games. And yes, so long as they're generally consistent, I don't mind. But when we talk about the importance of lore generally, I think it is important. I think lore does matter. I think lore consistency does matter, but I'm not going to be nitpicky about it. I'm just going to ask the question and then move on. So anyways, Wastelanders, I would love to get your thoughts on this. Please let me know in the comments below. And until next time, this has been the Lone Vault Wanderer. Please take care of yourself, and would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.